Hello everyone, I'm Johanna Bertume-Nonato. I'm a registered migration agent from Bridgehouse Migration Consultancy. Today we'll be discussing the pharmacists' visa pathways to Australia. So our agenda for today are occupation overview, tasks, related occupation specializations for pharmacists, weekly salary, occupation list, skills assessment or registration, study options, and visa options. So as an overview, pharmacists ensure safe and quality use of medicines and optimize health outcomes by contributing to selecting, prescribing, monitoring, and evaluating medicine therapy, and researching, testing, and developing pharmaceutical and medical products. Here are the tasks of a pharmacist. Receiving prescription and dispensing prescriptions, preparing, supervising the preparation and labeling of medicines to fill prescriptions, advising prescribers on drug incompatibility and contradictions, reviewing and monitoring the medicine therapy of individual patients, maintaining prescription files and records, supervising associated workers, research to develop and improve pharmaceuticals, cosmetics and related chemical products, testing and analyzing drugs, developing standards for drugs used in pharmaceuticals. So what is the qualification requirement? So as a pharmacist in Australia, you are required to have at least a bachelor's degree or higher, plus 1 year of traineeship. Registration or licensing is required here in Australia for pharmacists. Now, these are the specializations. There are different kinds of pharmacists here in Australia. The first one is the hospital pharmacist, prepares and dispenses pharmaceuticals, drugs, and medicines in a hospital pharmacy. The second one is industrial pharmacist, undertakes research, testing, and analysis related to the development, production, storage, quality control, and distribution of drugs and related supplies. The third one is the retail pharmacist, or sometimes they're called the community pharmacist. These are the ones that we see, the stores where we buy our medicines. Dispenses prescribed pharmaceuticals to the public, educates consumers on health promotion, disease prevention, and the proper use of medicines, and sells non-prescription medicines and related goods in a community pharmacy. Like pharmacies would also have vitamins, they even have makeup. And related occupation is the pharmacy technician. All right, so there are the pharmacists, which are required to have a bachelor's degree. Pharmacy technician, alternative title is dispensary technician. Fills and labels patients' prescriptions under the supervision of a pharmacist. May record details of, place orders for, take stock of, and store medications of medical supplies and deliver them to patients. The skills assessing body for a pharmacy technician is VetAssess. So they require at least a diploma or advanced diploma or an associate degree and 1 year of work experience after completion of the required qualification. The weekly salary of a pharmacist can range between $1,588 to $1,980 Australian dollars. So that equates to an annual salary of about $82,000 to $102,000. All the occupations that I've discussed, the industrial pharmacist, hospital, retail pharmacist, are all under the STSOL, or the short-term skilled occupation list. Now, for skills assessment, this is required when you're applying for a permanent residency visa in Australia as a pharmacist. There are different streams. There's the competency stream, international student stream, NZ registered pharmacy stream, and the knowledge stream. Most of our clients would fall under the knowledge stream because they have graduated outside of Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Ireland, UK, or USA. For example, if you're a graduate from the Philippines, then you are under this stream. All the rest, like number 2 international student stream, if you have studied here. NZ registered if you are from New Zealand and you are a registered pharmacist there. Competency stream is for pharmacists who are registered in Canada, Ireland, UK, or the USA. So since most of our clients are under the knowledge stream, that's what I will be discussing. There are many steps for a pharmacist to get a skills assessment. I feel like it's a bit unfair because there's so much to do. Unlike with other occupations, it's easier. All right, let's start with this. Step 1 is the eligibility check. So assessing if your qualification meets the minimum requirement. You should have at least 4 years of full-time studies if completed after 2006. 3 years if before, and be registered or eligible for registration in the country of your studies. For example, you finished a bachelor's degree in pharmacy in the Philippines, and that's a 4-year degree, then you're eligible for it. The fee for this is 1,310. So just a disclaimer, this is the fee now. Today is the 13th of January, 2023. So it can change at the time that you look at this video. The processing time is 8 weeks, and there's no minimum work experience requirement. So this is good because in some occupations, they do require that for the skills assessment. Step 2, taking the CAPS exam. It's a competency-based assessment, 2 papers with 100 questions each, 2 hours per paper. The CAPS assessment fee is 2,230. And I've put in there the link where you can find the exam dates and centers. Step 3, apply for a provisional registration at the Pharmacy Board of Australia. So once you have this, you can be eligible to apply for the permanent residency visa. Now, the other steps 4 to 8, is for you to get a general registration. Because as what you've seen, step 3 is about getting just a provisional registration. With a provisional registration, you can work in Australia, but you should be under the supervision of a pharmacist, fully licensed pharmacist. So step 4, commence an internship. You have to have at least 1,824 hours. That's the usual number of hours. It was reduced to 1,575 hours during the pandemic, and they haven't stopped it since today. Step 5, enroll in an intern training program. So you might be confused, what's that versus the full? Step 4 is working in a pharmacy. That's where you do the practical work. The intern training program is a separate training. There are accredited training program providers, and that's why I've put a link there, and you can find out who they are and how much they charge. Step 6, take the intern written exam from the Australian Pharmacy Council. So Australian Pharmacy Council, that's where you get your skills assessment. That's what you will be doing from step 1 and 2, and this step as well, step 6. Step 7 is oral exam. You have to take that as well from the Pharmacy Board of Australia. Pharmacy Board of Australia, they are the ones who are responsible for providing the license for the pharmacists. It's like the PRC in the Philippines. In step 8, once you've done that, you will then be eligible to apply for a general registration at the Pharmacy Board of Australia and work unsupervised. So you have a license and you don't need to be supervised when you have that. So you see, it's a lot of things to do, right? But I believe a lot of people have done this. Things can go wrong. Like what if you don't pass the CAPS? Maybe you can retake it. Step 4, commencing internship. That's the problem sometimes. that you couldn't find an internship host. That's why you cannot move forward to getting a general registration or full registration as a pharmacist in Australia. So Pharmacy Board in Australia, you can apply for a provisional registration, just like what I have just discussed, and general registration. The fees are there. I've put in the link, so feel free to go there so you can get the exact amount at that point in time.
Good evening, everyone. So I'll be discussing both the study pathways and what are the actual visa options for the pharmacists. So if you want to come here and study pharmacy in Australia, you can either do a bachelor, which is 4 years, or if you already have a qualification, a bachelor qualification back in your home country, you can take a master of pharmacy, which is 2 years. Your visa options. Because the pharmacist occupation is not in the medium long-term strategic skills list, you will need to have a state or a territory nominating you for any of the PR visa in the general skill and migration stream. The basic requirements for the general skill and migration stream is that you need at least 65 points on the migration points. You'll need a positive skills assessment. You have minimum language requirements. You obviously need to meet the health and characters requirements and all other specific visa requirements. So for the skill and nominate subclass 190, that's the state-sponsored visa, state-nominated visa. You must be nominated by a state or territory. Each state will nominate different occupations. Pharmacist is available for nomination from most states at the moment, and they each have their own requirements. The Skill and Work Regional, the provisional subclass 491, is a provisional visa that gives you 5 years to come to Australia and work in Australia. You can apply for a PR after 3 years. You also must be nominated by a state or a territory. When you get this visa, you must live in a regional area, and you can apply for PR after 3 years. There's also the work sponsor visas. One thing that's important to remind is that for a work sponsor visa, you need to have your full registration done. Not only the skills assessment, but you need to be licensed you have a full to employer-sponsored visas. For the employer-sponsored visas, one of the things that is really important to remember is that you need your full registration as a pharmacist to be able to apply for them. Because it's in the short-term occupation list, for the TSS, you can only apply for a maximum of 2 years for the work visa. The requirements for the TSS are the following. You must have an sponsoring employer, minimum 2 years full-time work experience in the last 5 years. You must have all required qualifications and full registration to be able to apply for this visa. You also need to meet minimum language requirements, health and character, and you need to provide that you are evidence that you are a general temporary entrant. You also should satisfy all the additional visa criteria. There's also a 494, which is similar to the TSS, but in regional areas. The advantage of that visa is that it leads to it can lead to permanent residence after 3 years. The requirements are similar to the 482, but you need to have at least 3 years full-time work experience. You must have all the required qualifications, a positive skills assessment. You also need to have your registration done. English language requirements also apply, as well as health and character requirements. And you should satisfy all other visa criteria. For the student visa, if you decide to study pharmacy in Australia, you have to go through the regular student visa process. Students in Australia are allowed to work up to 20 hours a week for now until June 20, the end of June 2023. There is no work restrictions, but after that, we'll go back to the regular 20 hours per week or 40 hours a fortnight. It's unlimited during break. And if you have a partner and you're studying master, your partner will be able to work unlimited hours as well. After completion of the course, if you study at least 2 years, you may be eligible for a graduate 482 visa as well. There are several courses that are accredited by the Pharmacy Council, and you can check those courses in the link below. For the student visa, you should satisfy the genuine temporary entrant criteria that shows that you're here because you have a genuine intention to stay temporarily just to study. You also need to meet the minimal language requirements. You need to prove that you have enough financial capacity to pay for your living costs for the first year, and as well as the tuition fees. You need to meet all other health and character requirements, as well as any other requirements for the visa.
Another option is the internship visa 407. The requirements for this visa is that you should have been nominated by a temporary activity sponsor, and you will go through an occupational training for registration. This really fits well with your nominated occupation because, as discussed a while ago, pharmacists would have to get registration, and also you are also required to go through an internship, which was 1,824 hours, but during the pandemic they changed it to 1,575 hours. In this visa, you are required to have an English language test result, which is just functional English. Financial capacity is being able to provide evidence that you will be able to survive here in Australia financially. This can be the employment contract that you'll be getting a salary while you're doing an internship here in Australia. Health and other character requirements, and all other visa requirements. We intend to launch this internship visa opportunity. Stay tuned for a new video or an announcement from our company where we will put together all the different steps for your registration, and then we invite employers to be able to hire you as an intern so that you'll be able to get the internship that is required for your general registration. If you want a thorough discussion of your visa options in Australia, book in a consultation with our registered immigration agents at www.bridgeauth.com.au.